Well-known author, investment banker, consumer advocate, analyst, trader. Chris Markowski is the watchdog on Wall Street.
You want answers?
Exposing the lies and myths that the big brokerage firms, the mainstream press, and the government are pushing to keep Americans away from financial freedom.
You can't handle the truth.
Bringing America the truth about what really happens in the financial world.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not here to indulge in fantasy, but in political and economic reality.
This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Welcome, everybody. You know, I'm going to probably surprise some people today in how we start off the program. We're going to start off on the topic, yes, here on the Watchdog on Wall Street show, of book burning. For whatever reason it may be, I was thinking about, there was that scene in the Indiana Jones movie, The Last Crusade, when Indiana Jones is in Berlin and Hitler is holding a book burning. And, you know, Steven Spielberg puts that in a movie. Oh, this is a terrible thing. And look at these people burning books. And wow, we may not take the books out and throw them on an actual fire today, but we most certainly like burning books. I was alerted by my kids, what was it, Monday or Tuesday this past week at dinner. I'm like, Dad, they're canceling Dr. Seuss. I was like, what? They're canceling Dr. Seuss? I'm like, what in the world are they canceling Dr. Seuss for? And I saw some of the books that they decided to cancel, and I wasn't familiar with them off the top of my head. Obviously, I love Dr. Seuss. I've written stories. I'm going to actually get into a column that I wrote over 10 years, about 15 years ago, entitled The Waiting Place. I love the star-bellied Sneetches. I guess somehow Dr. Seuss has become some sort of racist. And I went and I looked at the books, and I saw some of the caricatures of Asian people, of also Africans as well. And the reality is it was pretty much traditional garb for the Asian people, and the African caricatures were basically a childlike drawing. And we all know how Dr. Seuss draws of something that you might see in a National Geographic. Wasn't degrading in any way, shape, matter, or form, unless somehow, some way you are embarrassed by your history, by your nature, by, where you came from. And I talked about it this past week on the podcast as well. Said I have Italian and Polish heritage. And I constantly, on the emails all the time, and I get a kick at them, constantly getting the Polish jokes from many of my Italian listeners all across the country. I mean, it comes in all the time. I don't care. I happen to know my history. I know the history of the Italians. I know the history of the Polish people. I wrote one of my thesis in college about the Polish history and some of the nonsense that, stereotypes out there. So what? So what? Am I gonna get offended by television shows? To say my Italian side, am I gonna get offended by television shows like The Jersey Shore? Yeah, you got all of these Italians from the New York metropolitan area, Jersey. Do you think that they're all like that? Huh? Some are. Some are. Okay. At what point in time are we going to just put it down and stop being offended? And one of Dr. Seuss's greatest books, in my opinion, is early 1950s, The Sneetches. The Sneetches. Remember the story, the star-bellied Sneetches, where you had the haughty Sneetches. Just think of John Kerry types. We're above everybody else because we're Sneetches and we have stars on our belly. And then there was the Sneetches out there that didn't have stars on their belly. So in comes, they called him an entrepreneur. And not so much an entrepreneur, but we have these same entrepreneurs today. Race hustlers, mainstream media. Sylvester McMonkey McBean. And he comes in and for $3, he'll put a star on your belly. So you can be like the John Kerry, haughty, inside the establishment type Sneetches. Wow. So that becomes a pretty popular treatment. But the original star-bellied Sneetches, they don't like this at all. This is terrible. We're losing our special status. So, hey, Sylvester McMonkey McBean says, okay, I've got a machine, too, that will take the star off your belly. And back and forth and back and back and forth and back and forth. And the lines went like this. Until neither the plane nor the star bellies knew whether this one was that one, or that one was this one, or which one was what one, or what one was who. What happens is the Sneetches, they end up penniless. And obviously, Sylvester McMonkey McBean becomes a very, very rich man. But eventually, the Sneetches are able to figure out that, guess what? None is better than the other. There are no superior Sneak. And this is Dr. Seuss's early 1950s. A great lesson on discrimination. One of the first books, it was actually the first book I bought my son, my eldest, to, now I'm thinking about it, geez, he's going to college this year. Anyway, it was the Waiting Place, one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. So many great things and lessons within that book. And over 10 years ago, I wrote a column. And it's interesting, they decided to cancel Dr. Seuss this past week because I was going to bring this story up on the program. Past couple of weeks, I've been telling people what my feelings are in regards to the terrain, what I see moving forward. We're going to talk about it throughout the program again today. And many people out there, feeling up that I'm down and out, I'm depressed, whatever it may be. I may get angry or hot and bothered by a situation. I want to make this perfectly clear. I deal with it. And you need to as well. There's no sense in checking out. It's ridiculous. And that was the essence, the premise of the piece that I wrote. This is in the middle of the financial crisis. This is February of 2009. This is where the markets were falling off a cliff. I wrote this piece entitled The Waiting Place. And it went back to a Business Week magazine cover article that now it's over, 43 years old? Came out right around this time, 43 years ago. 43 years ago, Business Week put out a piece entitled The Death of Equities. The Dow at that time was 875. And yeah, it'd been trading back and forth, down a little bit here, there, topped out around January 1973. But the synopsis of the column was as follows. The masses long ago switched from stocks to investments having higher yields and more protection from inflation. Now the pension funds, the markets, last hope, have won permission to quit stocks and bonds for real estate, futures, gold, and even diamonds. The death of equities looks like an almost permanent condition. Reversible someday, but not soon. Again, think about that. Think about it. It's another, great advice given to you by the business press. The Waiting Place is a part of the book, Oh, the Places You Go. Again, it was the first book I bought my son when he was born. And there's a part in it. It goes like this. It said, you won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch when an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're darked. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite? Or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid, you will find, for a mind maker-upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused, you'll start in to race down long-winged rows at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdest wild space, headed I fear for the most useless place. The Waiting Place. People just waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. Back in 2009, waiting for a recession to end. Or how about waiting for a pandemic to end? Or how about waiting for a more business-friendly Congress? Or waiting for a president that we might like? Or a fairer tax code? I like to hope that my listeners out there, again, we talk about very serious things here on the program, and we cover them, in my opinion, in a different way than others do. And oftentimes, again, I don't sugarcoat things here on the program. I'm a big fan of the naked truth. Despite all of that, I hope what you're learning from this program, and I'm hoping I'm making it very, very clear, despite all the issues that we have as a country, sitting around in a waiting place is not a way to go. You don't want to fall into that trap. The market correction back in 2008 into 2009, if you had listened to us, followed what we had done and what our clients had done, it was one of the greatest opportunities I've ever seen. I ended it, and people don't know if this is actually true or not. It's true that John F. Kennedy delivered the speech. It was in Indianapolis on April 15th, 1959, and he stated, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is compounded of two characters. One represents danger, the other represents opportunity. Now, we don't know whether that is completely accurate, and Chinese scholars debate the origin of the symbols. Either way, it sounds good. Does it not? Despite some of the stories that we see, despite we see your burning of books, Dr. Seuss, things like that, guess what? I'm just going to find another way around it. We're still going to talk about these things. You're going to find ways to teach your kids. You're going to find ways to move on, to push on. My listeners, my clients, we don't sit in a waiting place. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com is our site. Again, I invite each and every one of you to become a part of who we are, what we are, at Markowski Investments and this program, the Watchdog on Wall Street radio show. Take advantage of our personal CFO program. Sign up for it there at our site. Take a look. Read my columns. Column The Waiting Place. Everything is archived going back years. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com is the website. We also have our 24-hour-a-day help hotline, 800-471-5984. That number again, 800-471-5984. We'll be back.
This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Welcome back, everybody. I don't know if you happen to see this past week, but the World Economic Forum, they actually put out a tweet. Mainstream media won't cover things like this. We will. They put out a tweet saying that pandemic lockdowns are improving cities. They actually put that out there. And it went along with saying, sound levels and decibel levels are down and carbon levels are down. So this pandemic and shutdowns are improving cities. They actually put it out. The World Economic Forum and the Davos crowd, the closest thing that we have in pop culture, in my opinion, is the group from the James Bond movie Spectre. Yeah, Spectre, they got all these, their symbol's an octopus. And they got tentacles into everything. And in the last James Bond with Daniel Craig, and they showed them involved in a big meeting at Rome, and all these movers and shakers from around the globe involved in all of this crooked nonsense. That's basically the World Economic Forum. Improving cities. You're gonna tell that to the guy who owns the hot dog stand, that owns the bodega, that owns the coffee shop, that owns the dry cleaner, that is never going to open up again? That improved their life? Anyway, just saying. I need to get into a story, and this is a bit of a see I told you so moment. Again, coming soon, in my opinion, to a theater near you. Banks in Germany are telling customers to take your deposits elsewhere. We don't want your money. Yeah. Because of negative interest rates in Europe, when money comes into these European banks, they have to put more money at the European Central Bank. Due to negative interest rates, they're losing. German banks are actually telling people with deposits greater than 100,000 euros to find someplace else, or you're going to have to pay them for the luxury of them to hold on to your money. This is in Europe right now. What makes you think that this is not going to happen here? One of the things that I've talked about for years, and it is a grand desire of the Great Reset, Spectra, World Economic Forum types, big government types, is to get rid of cash. Get rid of cash. And you'll see stories about, you see in the Scandinavian countries, so many of their stores don't take cash anymore. They're so much better up there. They're so progressive. Really? So you can't take your money out of the bank. Can't take it out. So if you can't take your money out of a bank, and these governments can impose negative interest rates, you either use it or lose it. So basically, think about it this way. Government wants to stimulate the economy. We'll go real negative. We'll go to negative 3% interest rates. You're going to be like, what? I'm going to lose 3% unless I spend this. What are you going to do? You're going to spend it. Again, this is the direction we're heading in. Again, I've dealt with low interest rates as a financial advisor for a long time. This is the terrain. We can show you how to deal with it. And again, how to deal with what is coming. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com, WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Again, take advantage of all the great stuff that we have, our personal CFO program, WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street. The only man who is taking on the Wall Street establishment. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Several years ago, and it's still available up at our website, my retirement crisis white paper. We're talking about the realities of ultra-low interest rates and the difficulty it is to find risk-free yield out there. And also, some of the other realities of life. This year, they already talked about the fact that, 2020, on how mortality had actually dropped by a year due to COVID. But the overarching trend is that people are living longer and healthier lives. That is a reality. And, some of the vaccines that have been developed for COVID and the technology that's being used with that, the messenger RNA, that's going to open up a whole nother world of help in regards to cancer treatments. It's just a myriad of things. It's really kind of fascinating. And I love, being involved in all these science journals and medical progress and things that are happening because it really is extraordinary. The issue is how we go about structuring our lives. And this conventional wisdom, this retire at 62 or 65 or 70 or whatever it may be. And I've talked at great length here on the program that, why would you want to live in fear during retirement? And that fear is running out of money. Running out of money. Who wants that? I've seen some major trends. We've talked about this. We've actually talked about this with people involved in real estate in areas around the country. You know what places really sell, really move very, very quickly are homes that have an in-law apartment. Those are doing really well. Home builders are starting to build more and more homes with that feature. Why? Well, again, that's the direction we're heading in. There was a story talking about nursing homes in the state of New York. They're at risk of closing down because of the scandal. Cuomo scandal. More and more people are going to be looking to do things a little bit differently. And these are things that you need to talk about with your family when it comes to putting together your financial preparation. And I have a very old school type of mentality. I grew up in a house. My grandmother and my aunt lived in the house right next door to me. And it was a very big Italian upbringing. Everybody's in everybody's business. Like I said, 6 of us in a 3-bedroom house. Fine. Nothing but wonderful memories. This extension of family, I'm glad to see that it's coming back. And it's something, quite frankly, that people are going to have to discuss moving forward. Again, reality. Deal with the terrain. I want to talk a little bit about this as well. Last week I spent some time, did some old stories in regards to breaking up the big investment firms. What good has come from what we've managed to do to ourselves by repealing Glass-Steagall. And there was a story this past week on how they got a new CEO at Citigroup. Yeah, new CEO at Citigroup. Citigroup, basically, they were the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room when this whole thing started. If you do remember, the head of Citigroup, Sandy Weil. Basically, they took Citibank and Travelers and put it together. Well, I got this Jane Fraser that's coming in because Citigroup and their stock really hasn't done much of anything at all since they were bailed out in the Great Recession. And, they're talking about the various different things that she can do. The thing that we should really do is break them all up. And this is one of the things that, unfortunately, the Wall Street Journal, none of the other publications really get into, is the fact that it would benefit shareholders. You break these big banks up into little pieces, they are more valuable apart. The various different, whether it be the investment banking side, the sales side, the commercial banking side, you break them up, you create value. You create more competition. You bring back, you make a more dynamic financial sector that, again, people talk about the dot-com blow-ups. Yeah, a lot of ridiculous, a lot of scam companies there. No doubt about it at all. But at least you could have gotten in at the ground floor of Google. At least you could have gotten in at the ground floor of Amazon. Can't now. Can't now, unless you are a millionaire 100 times over or a billionaire. And that's just wrong. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Take advantage, people. Again, become a part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family, our personal CFO program, all sorts of great stuff at the site, WatchdogOnWallStreet.com, or give us a call, 800-471-5984. 1-800-471-5984. I should remind everybody, again, that financial crisis white paper as well available at our website. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
What a beautiful girl. Keep holding on when my brain's taking.
You should believe in math, not magic. You're listening to The Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is the one, the only, the Watchdog on Wall Street show. Our old friend there, Elizabeth Warren, was all over the news. She was on CNBC, all over the place, because she has pushed forward her idea. She was running on this with Bernie Sanders, a wealth tax, 3% wealth tax on billionaires, 2% annual wealth tax on households and trusts, going from $50 million to $1 billion. Many people might be listening to the program saying, "Get them, yeah, just get them, go get those rich people." All right. Let's look at this from some sort of logic and reason, shall we? Right now, how much? What rate of return can you get on a 10-year Treasury? It's gone up, 1.3, 1.4. And again, you're going to say to people, you're going to say to the American people, we're going to lend you money. The United States government, we're going to lend you money at 1.3, 1.4%. Yet, if you make over a certain amount of money, we're going to tax you, your wealth, at a higher rate than that. Not to mention the fact a lot of these very wealthy people, they want risk-free return. Again, you're still losing money at this point in time. How can you justify that? How can you justify that in your mind? You pay taxes your entire, and again, you pay taxes your entire life. You follow the rules. And now you're building something up and you got to have it taken away. Now, let's look at this. At 3% over 10 years, you're losing 30% of your wealth over a 10-year period of time. Now, listen, I am all for, again, I hate the tax code. I think it's ridiculous. I know that there are loopholes. I know that there are gray areas. I understand this. And I think the tax code should be fair. But you're going to institute a wealth tax? Do you honestly believe, does anybody actually out there think that it's going to stop? It's going to stop? It wasn't long ago. They just recently repealed the tax on the Spanish-American War that we were paying every single month on our cell phone bills. That's right, the Spanish-American War. Taxes start, they don't go away. What was the original income tax? 7%? That was the original income tax. They're just going to expand upon it because that's what they do. It's never going to be enough. Yes, the tax code needs to be done away with. Yes, we need to start over. Yes, we have to get rid of all of these loopholes. Yes, we have to stop paying CEOs and executives in stock only to have those corporations turn around and buy it back. All of the above. But a wealth tax? I can't think of something really much more un-American. Maybe banning Dr. Seuss. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Again, become a part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family. We'll be back.
Chris Markowski is the Watchdog on Wall Street. Bringing America financial freedom one listener at a time. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
On the same subject of taxation, and again, the most logical way of handling taxation in the United States, quite frankly, is a consumption tax. Years ago here on the program, we used to talk about a lot. Neil Bortz on his radio show used to talk a lot about the fair tax. The only issue with the fair tax is first you'd have to repeal the income tax because, again, I don't trust anybody in Washington, D.C., so you have to have one. And if you have a consumption tax and you're paying at the point of sale, it works. You get rid of the tax code. The reason why it will never happen with the current crop of characters that we have, it makes too much sense. And it takes away all of the power from the people that run this country, the elites. You understand a big business, a corporation, they write checks and they cut checks to these people for a reason. They want various different rules and regulations that are going to go in their favor. They want contracts. They want loopholes within the tax code. This is why we've ended up creating this aristocracy here in this country, the Watchdog on Wall Street axis of evil. You don't think that these they can handle the tax? Again, they just pass any sort of tax on down to you anyway. They move jurisdictions or move out of the country when they have to compete on a multinational level, and it makes sense. But more often than not, we talk about regulatory capture and how this country works and how these powers that be can aid themselves and box you out. The great thing about this country, one of the great things about this country was the ability for you to, again, build a better mousetrap. Build a better mousetrap, and guess what? You were able to compete. That becomes more and more difficult when you have much of the rules and regulations coming out of the executive branch of government from various different acronym agencies and a tax code that's completely out of control. Anyway. Did get some comments and some emails in regards to CPAC. I don't do those things anymore. I don't go to those major events anymore. I stopped. I stopped going to political conventions. I stopped doing Radio Row because it would just aggravate me, and it's a waste of my time. There are other programs out there, the Hannity and some of the others. They love having these politicians on. I don't. I mean, I have Rand Paul on anytime. There's a couple out there that I'd like to speak to, but for the most part, no, they're just full of it. And I stopped going because I recognize that. Anyway, CPAC, everybody's talking about Trump's speech. One of the, in my opinion, one of the more important speeches was made by Greg Steube. He's a representative out of the state of Florida. And he basically talked in the same way that I am about working on the local level. You want to defeat these ridiculous progressive policies? You want to fight these awful progressive policies? You need to fight them on the local level. You need to fight them on the state level. We still have a Constitution, and we still have the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. And we're seeing what's happening when states do the right thing. We're seeing the massive migration of people in the United States out of blue states into states that are much more friendly to business. That's where it has to start. For years, again, I'm not a member of the Republican Party. I'm not a member of the Democratic Party. I class myself as a libertarian, but I'm not a member of the Libertarian Party either. So make fun of the Libertarian Party because they always try to run a presidential candidate. I'm like, why? Why? It's like banging your head against a wall. It doesn't make any sense. You're not ready yet. Why not, push your policies on the local level first? Bring candidates up and representatives from down there, and then go from there. But again, nobody listens to me. Anyway, there was an article, and I know we're short on time in this hour, and I'm going to carry this over into the next hour as well. And again, this is typical of business journalism today, and it really kind of upset me. It did. Basically using anecdotes to put out some sort of narrative or theory, which is just plain bunk. Wall Street Journal, again, the once great Wall Street Journal. Once. It is no longer. Column entitled, U.S. Retirement Crisis Hits Black Americans Hard. Again, I caught my attention, and like usual, I don't know where these people went to journalism school. They start off with an anecdote, and they find somebody. I don't know where they find these people, but they do. And this follows this woman by the name of Kimberly Owens. And Kimberly Owens doesn't know if retirement is going to be a reality for her. Doesn't know. She is a well-educated project coordinator in her late 40s. And she doesn't know if retirement is going to be a reality for her. Well, Kimberly, it would be a reality for you. You'd have a better understanding what retirement actually is if you tuned into this program. Again, some of the things that I'm going to be saying beginning of this next hour, okay, might upset some people. But again, we don't sugarcoat things. No spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street. Well-known author, investment banker, consumer advocate, analyst, trader. Chris Markowski is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
You want answers?
Exposing the lies and myths that the big brokerage firms, the mainstream press, and the government are pushing to keep Americans away from financial freedom.
You can't handle the truth.
Bringing America the truth about what really happens in the financial world.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not here to indulge in fantasy, but in political and economic reality.
This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Life is full of choices, is it not? Full of choices. Various different doors in front of us, and we make choices, and we deal with the consequences of our choices. Welcome back, everybody. It is the one, the only, the Watchdog on Wall Street show. Last hour, we ended up talking about a column that really got underneath my skin. The once great Wall Street Journal. And they're doing a piece on U.S. retirement, the U.S. retirement crisis, and how it's hitting Black Americans hard. Retirement crisis, again, go to my website. I talk about retirement crisis, but is it really a crisis? Guess it depends. Now, this young lady, Kimberly Owens, she's in her late 40s. And she's had to pull money out of her retirement funds for emergencies twice over the past 20 years. And her 401k balance is in the low 5 figures. And she says, I'm going to be working until I am 75 at this rate. First and foremost, let me address that. Nowhere in the United States Constitution does it say that you have the right to retire at 62, 65, anything. I mean, we have Social Security. You can choose to retire, and you can choose to live off Social Security. In fact, if you want to retire at 50, you can retire at 50. You want to retire, you want to stop working at 40, we can retire at 40. It's based upon the choices that you make. Totally up to you, Kimberly. It's totally up to you. I hope. She says, I'm going to be working until I'm 75 at this rate. God will. I hope I'm alive. I hope I'm working when I'm 75. I hope. I hope I'm still doing this radio show at 75. This Miss Owens works for this company in Connecticut, medical device company. She says, I'm not anywhere close to where I thought I was going to be at this point in my life. Many American households aren't prepared for retirement. But Black Americans like Miss Owens are even further behind than whites, according to academic and government data. And this the recent economic turmoil is widening the disparity. Let's just say everybody, okay? Does it matter what color you are? Huh? Do we get any information on Asian Americans in this study as well? The once great Wall Street Journal? I'm asking you. Many American households are not prepared for retirement. They didn't prepare. Well, again, that was a choice. Was it not? Well, it's expensive here in this country, blah, blah. Listen, I hear you. I understand it. I understand inflation. We've talked about it here for a very long period of time. Again, you need to get the conventional wisdom idea of retirement. You need to take it and get it out of your head. Do you understand a lot of these constructs were created in post-World War II? This is when the United States of America, pretty much at that point in time, the world's lone superpower competing against the Soviet Union, which had just been wailed on. Europe had nothing. Japan needed to be rebuilt. We had all the manufacturing capacity in the entire world. That's no longer the case. Deal with it. That's the reality. Many people, they say many Black Americans are hampered in savings for retirement by less intergenerational wealth, more college debt, lower incomes, and lower home ownership rates than white. Again, but are there not whites that did not have intergenerational wealth? I mean, my mother grew up in a house that didn't have running water. She had an outhouse for an extended period of time. People coming from all over the world coming to this country that didn't have a dime in their pockets. I've got hundreds of them as clients. Even before the pandemic hammered the economy, black families on average had roughly 1/6 the savings set aside for retirement compared with whites. Again, you got various different institutes out there saying that's a problem, that's an issue. Again, how do you fix it? How do you fix it? Well, again, you get lefties out there saying, there's no way you can correct the inequities that are 400 years in the making. Again, well, wasn't Barack just on with Bruce Springsteen saying we need reparations? I guess that's what they're going to push for at this point in time. But again, they get into, black families have less cushion in their paychecks to draw in case of emergencies and are more likely to pull from retirement accounts when a problem arises. Now they go into Miss Owens here. Let's go back to Kimberly Owens. And they talk about how she liquidated 2 401k accounts in the early 2000s when she was laid off and when an expected raise fell through. Now, again, let's do a little bit of journalism, shall we? Okay. A raise fell through. So what did you do? Did you buy something that you shouldn't have bought before you actually got the raise? Probably. I'm assuming that's the case. And I'm assuming that any sort of human being with a couple brain cells could figure that out. But it doesn't fit with the narrative of the story, so we don't ask that question. Her 3% contributions to a retirement account matched by her company aren't enough to help her catch up on her savings. Okay. Life happens. Again, we did Dr. Seuss. Bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. They've happened to me. They happen to me. They happen to everybody. Kimberly, you're not the only one. Hey, you know what? You might have to, guess what, Kimberly? You might have to get yourself a side gig. You might have to get yourself another job. Maybe you do it for a few years. Put some extra money away. If that's what you want. If you don't want to work till you're 75, okay, you can sit there and you can be interviewed by the Wall Street Journal and complain about it, or maybe you can do something about it. For Miss Owens, emergency savings have been difficult to build. She spent 10 years attending college and grad school. 10 years? 10 years attending college and grad school. Holy shnikes. She's got a degree in business administration. She's got a graduate degree as well. You know, I see this a lot too. Oftentimes, people's own worst enemies are. No, it's not the awful racist out there that's keeping you down. It's not the man. It's that person in the mirror. People hold themselves back. They do. Not willing to move, not willing to make a change, not being able to do things. You've got 2 degrees here. 2 degrees. She pays $200 a month on her student loans. Her initial student loans of $80,000 are now in the 6 figures. That's right. Her student loans now, they're greater than what she actually took out. And she says it's a losing game. Yeah, it's a losing game, so don't play it. Don't go out and take out all sorts of debt for a damn degree that more often than not you can get in a library. You know, how many years I've been talking about this here on the program. And, again, people willingly enslave themselves. They willingly enslave themselves. They convince themselves of things. Oh, if I only got that one more degree. Oh, no. More often than not, it's just hard work and hustle that will get you places. That's what it is. It's hard work. It's hustle. This woman is obviously, paid her way through college, took out student loans. She's working. You're on the wrong path, Kimberly. And you're being, interviewed here in the Wall Street Journal. And the Wall Street Journal obviously has an agenda on what they're trying to push. We need to do something about this. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? What should society do? Well, I've made plenty of suggestions over the years. Get rid of student loans, get rid of aid, make colleges and universities price their product based upon what people can afford to pay. I think more businesses, as of late, are starting to offer apprenticeship opportunities. But nothing. If you want to achieve something in life, nothing is going to be handed to you. Yeah, okay, yeah, we hand out. Well, we're a welfare state, and you can survive in America by not doing a damn thing. But again, if you're not part of the big club, the establishment club, and we all know about that, I go after them all the time, you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to work. It is what it is. And oftentimes when you work like that, you end up loving it. You end up, and again, I love what I do. I love what I do, and I find myself doing it a lot. I have to, find myself dragging myself away from work. But again, it's not really dragging myself. I'm doing stuff with my children, doing stuff with my kids. But this Kimberly Owens, all is not lost. She's not getting the right advice. Again, I'm not going to sugarcoat things here, people, on the program. Make this perfectly honest, perfectly clear, okay? The commercials that they run on TV, this grandiose pie in the sky, I'm going to have a vineyard in Napa type of retirement. Okay, you want that vineyard in Napa? This is what you're going to have to do. And we'll tell you, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. I'm not going to lie to you. You want something, go get it. You want something, you go get it. We'll help you. We'll point you in the right direction. We'll tell you what you need to do. If you are adamant, I don't want to work past 65. Okay, what kind of life do you want to have when you're 65? Well, this is what you are going to have to do. This is how much you are going to have to put away. Everything in life that has meaning, value, and worth involves work, time, and effort. Everything. But I am working hard. But you're not going to work hard. You have to work smart. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Don't go anywhere. Interesting topic we're going to be getting into moving forward. Some observations I'm making in regards to this bizarro world that we're living in with ultra low interest rates, no housing stock out there. Is this the opposite of 2008, 2009? We'll discuss a column that I found pretty fascinating this past week. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Again, take advantage of our personal CFO program, 24-hour day help hotline, 800-471-5984. We'll be back.
Taking Wall Street's liars, crooks, and cheats out behind the woodshed. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Welcome back, everybody. I try to give insight. to everybody out there, to the way that we think at Markowski Investments here at the Watchdog on Wall Street show, and how we go about positioning ourselves with a, I guess I have to say this is completely, I've never seen anything like this. I love history. I'm constantly reading history all the time. You pick up what you can learn from history, various different situations, but this is pretty unique of what we're going through right now. A lot of it, again, we talked about earlier in the program, we told you was coming. We've been able to predict a lot of things. The area that we're in right now, again, we just went through $28 trillion as far as debt is concerned. $28 trillion. I got to be honest with you. I didn't think I'd ever see that number. And again, if you try to even comprehend the enormity of that number in your mind, you can't. You can't get your arms around it. I've compared it in the past here in the program, trying to get your mind around that Matthew McConaughey movie there. Was it Christopher Nolan knew? Interstellar? What? I mean, he's on the planet for 20 minutes, but it's actually 30 years. Again, it's well beyond my mind. There was a column I was looking at this past week, and I found it interesting. And the author's guy by the name of Ben Hunt talked about the opposite of 2008. What does that mean? He talked about how, back before the financial crisis, guy lives in Connecticut, and he would drive to work, it was close to the city, and he would count for sale signs and saw how, gee whiz, I mean, how many of them, they kept getting higher and higher and higher, the amount of for sale signs. And again, he was talking about neighborhood in Connecticut between Weston and Westport, Connecticut, which is, train ride, Metro North into the city, pretty valuable real estate. And the numbers kept going up. And again, it's similar to what I saw down in Southwest Florida. And, real estate can never go down. Yet there's for sale signs everywhere. I'm just telling you right now, try to find homes for sale in some of these areas. There aren't any. They're just not there. You take a look at some of the numbers right now. There was actually a column about it. Where have all the houses gone? The number of available homes has fallen steeply in metros across the country. And the divergence between rent and home prices. This is a lot of easy money out there. And again, we try to put this together and make heads or tails out of this. I'm here to tell you, again, the government, the Fed, keeps saying that there's no inflation out there. That's just not true. Home price appreciation. It's not showing up in the inflation stats. It's not. We're also starting to see as well, and again, I'm trying to think about all of this cash that's going to start hitting the economy as well. Mortgage refis and people taking money out of their homes. That's starting to go through the roof also. And again, you take a look at how expensive homes have gotten. It's going to change things, especially when it comes to the middle class, people on their way up, the concept of owning a home. That's going to change as well. But again, in some respects, and we can get into that when it comes to real estate, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, one of the bits of conventional wisdom out there, you got to own a home. Yeah, that might have been the day when you held a job for 20, 30 years. A little bit different nowadays. Again, we'll get a little bit further into this when we get back. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. Don't go anywhere.
Chris Markowski is the Watchdog on Wall Street. This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
The heart is a blue. Shoots up through the sky.
Welcome back to the one, the only, the Watchdog on Wall Street show. We take the liars, the crooks, the cheats out behind the woodshed and give them a bit of a beat down. Yes, we constantly are fighting against narratives and conventional wisdom here on the program. And yeah, we've talked a lot. It's just, again, it's a part of your financial preparation. It's a part of your net worth. You're home. You're home. And prior to the run-up in real estate, financial crisis, Great Recession, when everybody was starting to, hey, I'm going to dump my 401k and I'm going to buy pre-construction condos, and the concept, hey, you can never lose money on a home. The reality is, throughout history, home prices have gone up pretty much at the rate of inflation. That's the reality. You're going to have, bubble-type situations like we had in the past. What we're looking at right now is, we're seeing prices have gone way up. And we're back at levels that we saw prior to the financial crisis. But we've also seen a mass exodus out of urban areas, out of the cities, to many of these communities. Who is buying homes? People that are buying homes are people that have, they've been told by their companies, told by their businesses that they can work from home. I just got word this past week that J.P. Morgan is looking to get rid of hundreds of thousands of square feet in commercial space in Manhattan. They want to get rid of it. They're trying to offload it. They're already telling their workers, you can work from home. It is changing the dynamic. Now, for people that are going to be working in jobs that are not settled, rent prices have come down. Take advantage of that. A lot of the people lamenting, saying, hey, this is no good. People are not going to be able to go out and buy a home and build up wealth. Listen, it's not necessarily the greatest wealth generator of all time. It's not. I tell people all the time, look at your house not as an investment, look at it as a bill. If you factor in all of the costs, the money that you put into your house, the upkeep, everything that goes along with it, if you come out even, fantastic. Plus, you got to take a look at the interest that most people pay in regards to a mortgage. These are all realities that most people do not consider. What does this all mean moving forward? Again, trying to get our way of thinking in regards to asset allocation. We've talked to you about this for a while. Listen, bonds, government bonds, long-term bonds, used to be something that we would utilize in a portfolio. It was a great diversifier, something you'd own, might drag overall performance down in a portfolio, but hey, it's something you'd own. Now, not so much. It's not about dragging performance down. It's just a loser. It's just a loser because, again, you're being lied to when it comes to inflation statistics, inflation numbers. Listen, there are a myriad of different things. I get questions in regards to what about Bitcoin? What about this? What about that? Again, Bitcoin, It's a made-up currency out of thin air. The technology is interesting, but when they're printing this much money, it is what it is. It's something that, okay, you want to use a little bit of speculative money in, fine. It's not a storage of value. That's a lie. We're fundamental investors. We take a look at a company. When I put a company into a portfolio, we're looking at an asset, or we're looking at a bunch of a sector, whatever it may be. We take a look at the valuation. We take a look at where do we think that business is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And we make an investment. Sometimes, let me give you an example. When it didn't work out. We made money on it. But it didn't work. And this is back in the 1990s. I just thought of that. It was a company, it was called At Home. It was, I had this philosophy that worked really well. It was like a toll keeper type of philosophy when it came to tech and the internet, wanting to own the companies that were actually providing the internet. And At Home was the original company that delivered the internet through your cable line to the house. And we did real well with the stock for a while, but then again, the major cable companies came in and it was gone. It was gone. The fundamentals changed. Competition came in that, changed the dynamics for that company. So we changed our mind. We sold the stock. We moved on. But when we originally bought it, we said, hey, this is the future. This is the direction. This is where it's not going to be the old dial-up over the phone anymore. These are the things that you look at. These are the things that you put into your portfolio. And as they go up, as you do well over time, you take profits off the table. You rebalance the portfolio. Again, because the terrain is weird. It is. There's going to be a lot of hiccups and bang-ups and all sorts of stuff moving forward. I can promise you that. Are you able to deal with it? Are you properly balanced? This guy you're working with, does he know what the hell he's doing? Or she's doing? Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Get to our website. Take advantage of our personal CFO program. Watchdog on WallStreet.com or give us a call. 800-471-5984. We'll be back.
The only man who is taking on the Wall Street establishment. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
I know. I get the emails coming in, the phone calls there, people seeing what's going on, and they're scratching their head, and they're looking at interest rates. They look at $28 trillion in debt, and oh, my God, and inflation is going to run rampant. That's the thing that's getting really popular right now. And I've said, well, you're wrong. Inflation has already been running rampant for a long time. Just because they tell you it doesn't exist doesn't mean it's not there. I get a kick out of this. I say, how many people actually looking at your bills? Do you actually take a look at your grocery bill? Do you actually take a look at commodity prices? Housing prices, health care costs, higher education costs. The only thing that really doesn't seem to go anywhere as far as prices is televisions. Everything is going up. Inflation is already here. And then you get all the people out there talking about, well, the interest rates are going to have to go through the roof because they're going to have to tame this inflation beast. And I said, I hear you. How? I want to remind everybody what happened not too long ago. Okay? 11 years ago. 11 years ago, the quote-unquote bond vigilantes went after some of the government debt and some of the Mediterranean countries. You had remember they called them the pig countries, the pigs, Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, Spain. Their interest rates went up. Now, did they go to 15%, 18%? No. No, they didn't. I think someone as high as 7, 8. The mortgage on my first house was close to 8%. Now, again, we are $28 trillion in debt. The rest of the globe is awash in debt. How in the world are they going to raise interest rates? You understand that most of the debt of the United States is in short-term instruments that we roll over again and again and again. What would happen to our budget if that was the case? What would happen to the rest of the world's budget if that was the case? I just don't see it happening at this point in time. How? You tell me. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street. You should believe in math, not magic. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Yeah, I do have to. I have to get into the Cuomo Chronicles. Oh man, the Cuomo Chronicles. Man, this family again. I grew up in upstate New York. I played lacrosse against Chris Cuomo. Yeah, that's right. The CNN Chris Cuomo. Yeah, we used to beat the stuffing. Out of his prep school team, Albany Academy. Again, Mario, his dad, the big lib Democrat governor. Yeah, but his kids went to private school in Albany, right? They didn't go to public school. Anyway, I still, it bothers me. They renamed the Tappan Zee Bridge, big bridge over the Hudson River, New York City. They named it the Mario Cuomo Bridge. Yeah, whatever. Tappan Zee Bridge. That's what I'm going to continue to call it. Anyway, Andrew Cuomo he's a member of the establishment. I know you get various different Democrats coming out of the woodwork saying that, hey, you know what, he needs to go, he needs to resign, we need to investigate this. Let me tell you, they're just paying lip service. This will blow over. It will. It will blow over because the media will allow it to blow over. They'll just stop covering it. They'll just stop covering it, and the public will just forget. People, I mean, they look at some headlines from time to time, but for whatever reason it may be, people, they forget. They move on. You see, I don't. And yeah, I spend a lot of time, hours every day, reading, keeping up with everything. I wrote columns about Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo was Bill Clinton's Housing and Urban Development Director. Youngest of all time. Completely unqualified for the job. Completely unqualified. Andrew Cuomo, the governor of the state of New York, helped plunge Fannie and Freddie into the subprime markets. He pushed them. He pushed them to buy up crap mortgages. He also took any sort of monitoring of these agents, completely got rid of those. Oh, yeah. All of the mortgage kickbacks for the mortgage. There wasn't any mortgage brokerage industry. He allowed that to happen. If there was a tiny little fire of I guess you want to call them unsupportable loans, ridiculous loans. He poured gasoline on that fire. Yeah, he started that. That was under Bill Clinton. And I'm going to be honest, okay? George W. Bush pushed that whole thing as well. I remember being at the 2004 Republican National Convention, and that was ownership society, and everybody's got to own their own home, and ownership society. And I'm like, okay, owning a home is great if you can afford it. If you can afford a home, you shouldn't monkey with thousands and thousands of years of economic reality and try to put people into homes they can't afford. How is that good? But again, it's something that politicians, whether they be a donkey or an elephant, they like to high-five themselves over. Oh, yeah, look at increased home ownership. Look what I did. You don't own your home until you pay the frickin' thing off. Period. The end. You are in a partnership with the bank. Now, with all these mortgage brokers, all this crap was going out there, hey, who cares? We take the loan, we package it, and then we sell it. You see, Fannie and Freddie, they're not loan originators. They buy those loans. And Andrew Cuomo, hey, you guys got to buy more crap loans. You got to buy more. So what are the mortgage brokers going to do? Hey, we're going to sell more. Why not? We're going to continue to get our commission. The guy has been an incompetent boob for a long, long time. But, again, it's my prediction. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Oh, it'll be forgotten. This story will pass. And later on down the road, Andrew Cuomo will run for Senate or maybe even the presidency. Anyway, I don't want to be, I know I sound cynical, but, again, I've been doing this for a while. Okay? This story as well. Came out the past week. The American Petroleum Institute is saying that carbon pricing is going to help meet the Paris Accord. Oh boy, yeah. If you know the Paris Accord, the whole we're just like we love each other so much, we're so important. Maybe we should wear a ribbon because we care about the climate. Not going to do a damn thing. But anyway, American Petroleum Institute has signed off on the old carbon pricing, carbon trading. Why wouldn't they? Not going to bother them at all. Again, it's going to be priced into their product. And I'm sure all the big wigs on Wall Street were high-fiving each other this past week because now they can start trading air. That's right. They're going to start being able to trade carbon credits. They're going to start trading air. Honestly, it's you talk about snake oil salespeople. I mean, at least there was something in the bottle. They're just, again, they're going to sell air. And everyone's going to be on board. And we could be happy that they're doing something to alleviate their carbon sin. Again, you got to hand it to Al Gore. He came up with one of the greatest scams of all time. All time. History of the world. Buying air. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
It's not about the salary, it's all about reality and making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up.
Chris Markowski is the Watchdog on Wall Street.